In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own.
Part 1 and 2 will be combined into this video, so if you've already seen part 1, just skip to the second part, as we'll be going over the new stuff in the second video. Or this video, whatever. In the first couple of seconds of the video, we see a very distorted Minecraft video where the hotbar is completely hidden. The most interesting thing about the first 10 seconds is the timer in the bottom right corner of the screen, where it seems like it just never gets past 2 seconds before resetting. The theory I have about the timer is that it never goes past 2 seconds because it symbolizes someone's death or incompleteness. You know, normally when it comes to completeness, you have like the start, the middle, and the end, but because it never gets past 2, it can never complete itself. I know I'm really stretching it when it comes to the concept, but what if the looping 2 numbers means the story can never end, as the character we are witnessing constantly goes through a time loop of never-ending suffering? Later in the video, we are witnessing constantly going through a time loop of never-ending suffering. The video reveals what type of journey we're about to go on with him. I would also like to point out that the camera doesn't really start to freak out until the main character falls out of the world into a separate reality, and about 14 seconds in, when he's left the main reality, the camera starts to freak out. A very interesting thing about the camera is that it seems like it knows it doesn't really belong there, so sometimes if you're paying attention, the camera does freak out so much, it almost looks like he's trying to be put back in the original reality he's from. But something in the second reality is denied and forced back to suffering in this new one we are currently in. Now, the hotbar could represent the lack of control or preparedness the character has when entering the new world, meaning us not seeing the hotbar at all throughout the video is definitely meant to tell us something about this before he's even seen the entity, that things are about to go very, very wrong. At 17 seconds in, we hear a big Steve Hurt sound effect, yet his hearts don't go down at all. This is really strange, and this already shows that he doesn't really belong in this reality he has been sent to. But that begs the question of why he's allowed to even exist in this plane where he doesn't belong in. The looping endless trees seem to be there to instill extreme fear and paranoia, as never-ending distance of trees are meant to keep him trapped, going in circles forever and ever. This could represent the constantly going in circles in life with zero progress. As he jumps down into the deep endless pits, he's constantly going down without any hesitation in the videos. It's only a few seconds after he realizes what he's done, but he probably doesn't even care because of how far he goes down mentally. I mean, my theory is that because he thinks no one will miss him, he can go down as deep as he wants into the abyss. I mean, that's just like my crazy theory, but let's move on. And about 42 seconds in, we see the grave for the first time. This grave sticks out when compared to all the trees, as it raises a lot of questions. The first one being, why does he dig up the gravel then put it back down? It feels like the main character might have something unfinished in his life, so he does the only thing he knows how to do and runs away. The reason why the grave is so important is that it could or would represent the end, and seeing by the character's reaction to the grave. He clearly doesn't want to go through with anything. This will be a pattern throughout the video, as the character will start an action, then will never fully complete the cycle, almost like the 1 and 2 repeating themselves in the right corner of the screen. At 1 minute and 18 seconds in, we clearly see the entity for the first time. Despite being hidden behind a tree, it's very easy to see something isn't right. Even the character in the video realizes what they just saw and runs away. Even as he runs away, he still looks behind him over himself over and over again to make sure he isn't being followed. It's quite funny to see him doing this because later in the same video, we see him start to have a small mental breakdown, begging for anyone to be in this world except for himself. Kind of bipolar, but let's move on. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds in, we finally reach the strangest part of the video. We see the character run up to the giant pit in the world in the middle of the forest of trees and just start throwing some bread into it. Like, dude, what are you doing wasting food like that? Didn't your mother teach you to behave yourself? So this portal, I think it kind of represents a second change in what's going on. After seeing the character struggle to write on a sign, relatable. Have you seen kids trying to type anything that isn't emoji nowadays? He then jumps into the pit, into the ground, and is brought to a new, darker location. Okay, that's a lot of breakdown, but let's start at the bread. Why give up the bread? Well, it could represent surrender, or it could be him testing, see how far down the pit really goes. The sign represents him trying to ask for help or reach out, but before he can actually receive help or get any confirmation of the sign doing anything, he self-sabotages himself by jumping down further into the complete darkness of the pit. He seems to have zero validation over his own life. Honestly, the whole video gives me the vibes that this player, or whoever is controlling this world, doesn't care what happens to themselves, or is actively trying to run away from help or potential help, and understanding that he needs help but doesn't really know how to express themselves in the proper way to get help. Because he didn't take any physical damage he could see, maybe he thought it didn't matter if he just dumped down instead of waiting for help, because we still see him slowly losing his mind throughout the video, getting more and more scared of everything around him. At 4 minutes and 50 seconds, we see him mining down to see if there is possibly go any deeper, and that is kind of weird. It's like the main character has zero value of their own life and wants to sink even deeper into whatever they have going on. Clearly, the repeating numbers in the right side is meant to represent the constant self-sabotage the character puts themselves through. Or they just wanted some stone. That could also be a possibility. They just wanted stone. I could just be overthinking this too much, as I'm only 5 minutes into the video and my brain is about to explode. This is a weird thing that happens when he reaches the third layer. He looks a little less scared than he probably should be. And another thing keeps popping up is the fact that he keeps taking and taking and taking, even though he already has a lot of crafting tables, lots of food, lots of tools. It's just really repetitive, and it seems to be more of a distraction for himself than anything. And at this point, the main character is only doing these things out of habit and probably comfort. Because how do you expect to prepare to fight something that could be so much stronger than you can ever possibly hope to be? If by chance the entity is actually hostile, I don't think preparing by getting resources and food is really going to save the character, but hey, maybe he's a PvP god and we just don't know it yet. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that the main character is constantly looking up at the sky over and over again. like he's expecting something to happen or change. I mean, the sky does look kind of cooked in the second layer of the video, but hey, maybe he's just praying for some kind of god to come on in and save him already. But realistically, the best thing you can do in this situation is just turn off your computer and get the memory hard wiped. But hey, that's just me. If common sense was a thing in these videos, then none of them would ever even have kept going in the first place. At 6 minutes and 15 seconds, it's kind of eerie to see pillars built like this. This tells us the main character definitely wasn't the first being to stay in this location. Of course, as soon as he sees the tree, he instantly cuts it down like he is a repetition is kicking in. At 7 minutes and 17 seconds, he finds some stone pillars that look like they have been there for a very long time. It's quite really funny, really. The deeper he goes, the more and more it looks like an old civilization was once there, which is really eerie now that I said it out loud. I mean, what's really eerie about these is that some of these 2-block tall width and height looks like a perfect spot for a door. I just noticed also that the music is just repeating itself over and over again, just like the numbers 1 and 2. It just seems to perfectly end when we see the civilization, or what remains of it. It seems that even the music knows what we just saw was false hope, so it stops for a second just to start over. Out of all the times the music could have restarted, this is the spot it chose. The moment of revelation stops the music before everything begins crumbling down. So the main character starts digging down, hoping to find more of these pillars or where they came from, but only thing he finds along the stone is more bedrock. The moment where the main character realizes he's completely alone, so he gives up on trying to find out about the pillars, starts running in a random direction. At 8 minutes and 49 seconds, there's a sound in the distance, almost like something or someone has finally noticed what he's did to their home. It's quite scary knowing that you are completely alone in the world, but it's much worse to develop a false sense of hope. You are alone only to realize you are actually being hunted. The screams get more and more frustrated as the main character did something that they would not forgive them for, probably for destroying those stone pillars. And for each time they scream, it gets louder and louder and louder until, well, the video kind of just ends, but I'm sure it'll continue in part 2, right? Well, I guess we gotta wait for a part 2. Maybe those stone pillars were important after all to the entity, or whatever. There's a crazy idea or concept that might blow your mind when I explain it to you. All the things that happen in the video look like they are about 2 seconds behind. Like, I get that feeling like everything's on a delay, or it just doesn't look quite right. Think about it. All of the things that happen were very delayed reactions. All of the mistakes or things that the character realizes they've done happened on such a strange delay that the timer isn't just there for show. What if the player or person controlling the character is on a delayed or laggy server, so everything they see is behind what is actually happening? I will say that the first layer in the forest, the screen kept freaking out. It was like trying to pull him back into normal reality, but once he was willing and went further down, the camera stopped trying to send him back and instead embraced the darkness with him. Each time the character makes a mistake, he looks up at the sky wondering why everything is happening to him. Sorry, that's not actually the last thing. So the actual last thing I've noticed is that in the description of the video has a long message of simple words. This world isn't real anymore. Please help me. Please help me. 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 Mercy. Who is he crying out to? And who else is in this world with the main character? I guess we'll have to find out later. But my last theory for the day is that the main character who's stalking... is that the entity who's stalking the main character is actually just a family member who died. So that's why the main character comes across his grave. It's meant to represent the fact that the main character or the family member died and that they are grieving for them. So the original fall down, I wouldn't really put it past the creator if that's the direction he's going with the story. And if it's not like for the main character or the entity of the grave, I have absolutely zero clue what the creator is trying to do. Like, is that just for symbolism, or I don't know. It could just be like the main character falling deeper and deeper into trauma. That's also like the third theory I have about it too. So I think the plot is bound to get more juicy as the episodes are released, of course. The first episode, you can't really expect everything to happen on the first episode. So I might actually return to the series if I don't get distracted doing something else, of course. I left the video in the description below if you want to check it out, as the creators already promised for a part 2 in the comments below. So clearly we will get some more answers in the future, and if I don't have any answers and if he gives me more questions, I am going to lose my mind. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, maybe check out my other pieces of work I've created, like my chicken nugget video that got 0 views. So the first thing I want to go over is the first video's dialogue in the description. We'll go sentence by sentence to try to break it down a little further, at least a little bit. The world isn't real anymore. Could be the person discovering that they are in the wrong reality. I mean, this one's, I guess it's pretty obvious. And the second one is, please help me. That could mean panic is starting to kick in, leading to the person beginning to spiral out of control emotionally. And the next one is, please help, is missing the me, meaning the person is in so much shock they could literally not finish what they started. The repeating me's over and over again could be another sign of the person losing their minds as they become more and more obsessed or finding something to latch onto due to the situation they're going through. Next, I noticed the text ends for a little while, almost like the person writing it gave up halfway through, which gives like a moment of emptiness and begins to really sink in what really happened to them and that nothing really matters anymore. The last word is mercy. This could represent surrender or giving up completely, because they surrender to the void, so they go deeper and deeper until they are stuck there forever. Well, that's all the stuff in part 1 I wanted to go over, because I think I missed that one. I did miss a couple other things, but I think I'll talk about it in the second part. So the first 20 seconds of the video, the person is confused about what's even going on. The character from this video looks to be a completely different player from the last video. Now before we continue, I have to point something out that might be a red herring and all the things going on between the two videos. The name of the person playing in both of these two videos just so happened to have the same name when getting advancements. But I think it's just a coincidence that these two just happen to have the same name. Honestly, my theory for all this is that the creator forgot to turn off chat advancements, so I'm just going to assume that it's just the error on the creator's part. So I'm going to ignore the fact that they share the same name for now and treat them as two separate characters instead. With that out of the way, let's get back to the analysis. So I noticed the missing hearts from the person, as unlike the last video, we can actually see the hotbar slightly. And we see the fact that the red has already lost some hunger and hearts that are drained before we've even begin being brought into the alternate reality. Now, I got a theory about what this could mean. What if in the first video the player or the other player already passed away, so they couldn't really affect the world in anything meaningful way? The first video protagonists acted very weird, almost like they were slowly passing away and going down deeper and deeper into the endless abyss to be lost forever. While the first video's protagonists tried to communicate, it always seemed like they were struggling, or struggled to even write on a single sign, never utilizing chat unlike the red later in the second video. The first protagonist gives up way too quickly, almost like they know they can't stop the change and what's going to happen to them. Unlike Red, who does everything in their power to try to escape the suffering they are about to endure. I don't want to bore you with too much at once, so let's continue with the video to see what else is going on. Okay, so I know I just said I would move on, but the first 10 seconds show something weird going on with Red. The screen looks like it's shaking violently as if he's remembering something that happened to him. Maybe some kind of trauma that we'll go over later in the video. 35 seconds in, and we see farmland with a pool of water. When approaching the farmland, the character of which we will be calling Red avoids the water like the plague. Now, either he's a Red mod, or the red on the skin of the player could be a sign to tell us the character has a flashback that will be important later in the video about him being set ablaze. I think the red on the character is a giant indicator of what really happened to the character that we'll figure out later in the video. It seems that the water brings some anxiety when getting too close to it. Repetition like the last video kicks in as we see the red chopping down trees, almost like he's preparing for something. At 1 minute and 39 seconds in, we hear the first line of dialogue in the two videos combined saying, "Help me." At 1 minute and 49 seconds in, and we hear the second line of dialogue, "Why did you leave me to burn?" Another thing that happens in the middle of the voices talking is us seeing Red and what he fully looks like for the first time in the video. This is interesting because he looks oddly similar to the entity found later in the video. This also helps us figure out a thing I forgot about in the first video. The player in the first video looked like they were beginning to hollow out in the face. As you can see clearly in their face area, they don't have a face anymore. It's a dark void. If you go back to the first video, you can clearly see that even the entity has a similar facial structure to the main character in the first video. Meaning, these two videos will go over the different types of suffering each character will have. Later in the second video, we'll be able to see the entity and how it appears to be similar to Red, but in different other ways. Red begins to build a house with the trees chopped down, while the dialogue plays out almost like he's trying to fix something bad that happened in his past. We see a chest and a bed near the house, but not inside the house for some reason. Clearly this must have been placed here by someone else, because it doesn't really make sense for the bed and chest to be placed down in the middle of the woods instead of a built house. The chest holds torches, sticks, saplings, food, and wood. This is a little eerie, as up to now he hasn't even seen a single animal, leading to the idea of everyone being alone in this reality and not at the same time. So here's the thing about the two videos. I think that people are being sent here to this fake reality, but some of them come more prepared than the others. While they can't see nor interact with each other in the conventional sense, they can still live behind whatever they brought with them inside the fake reality. As Red closes the chest, it becomes night way too quickly. Like way too quickly. Red is just running home after he yoinks the free bread and chest, only to realize someone else has clearly claimed his house because they've already begun setting up crosses around his home. Honestly, if I was Red, I would just let them keep the house, but what do I know? I'm not a property owner, so what do I really know about it? At 3 minutes and 27 seconds, Red says, "Help me," before just going to sleep like a moron. Very smart to use a bed in the middle of the forest, if I do say so myself, as nothing could possibly go wrong. Oh, yep, everything just went wrong as he wakes up in a random wooden maze. Just look at where we can put it in. What the fuck did I just write? I have no fucking clue what I just wrote down. Was I like high when I wrote this? I don't fucking know. This is probably the reason why most horror movie characters die. Oh wait, I think I was writing a joke about people banging before they die. Whatever. I mean, Red is just lucky all this happened to be... That's all that happened to him, as he was moved. That's all. Red wanders around the wooden maze until he hears something following him, as more and more doors begin to open, one after another. At 4 minutes and 46 seconds, in we hear, "Why don't you help me?" It's unclear whether it was from Red this time, as you know he's clearly being followed by something, but it could just be Red starting to have a mental delusion, asking himself the question, who knows? Anyways, at 5 minutes and 17 seconds, Red decides he's not going to follow the rules of the maze anymore and starts breaking down through the walls and the glass, as Red clearly just wants to find a way out at this point, starting to lose his mind, going in circles in this wooden maze. We see Red slowly understanding the layout of the maze and looks to be making progress until Red starts blocking off the points behind him, hoping to slow down whatever is chasing him, but to no avail, as is futile, as at 6 minutes and 30 seconds in, just when he thinks he's alone, the entity appears to be getting closer and louder, as something is clearly making their way closer to him until Red finds that the doors are beginning to be blocked by wooden walls. The entity is clearly using the same tactics as him, as is trying to get him cornered in a room with 4 exits and 1 entrance and 4 entrance points. As he manages to block off, Red has a big brain moment and just decides he's gonna mine through the roof to get higher, hopefully getting away from the entities we still haven't seen up to this point. Suddenly, Red gets scared and hides as he blocks off the roof and decides he's just not going through the roof anymore. And unfortunately, the chat goes off, beginning to ask him if he can see him or see me. Red makes a sign to say they can't really see him, and then he appears. I bet Red regrets saying that now. What looks like a mirror image of Red, but being darkened, blacked out by an evil force around them. Once you go black, you never go back. Red first instincts when seeing this entity is to almost let it murder him, as he thinks that it might be his only way out of this suffering. After this happens, Red says he's sorry on the sign that he's already created, It seems that Red might have done something to the entity in the past, so in the moment of self-loathing and regret, he let him inside a safe space to allow himself to suffer whatever amount of pain and suffering the entity would bring upon him. We will understand why Red might have allowed this entity to make him endure the more suffering in a strange move. While Red writes on the sign, he's just attacked saying sorry to his friend. Red then tries to escape the building by building up and smashing through the roof like the Kool-Aid Man. He does this to 2 floors and kind of just gives up on the idea. I feel like the number 2 has a lot of impact and meaning, as a lot of things are repeated over and over in pairs of 2. At the 9-minute mark, we start to encounter overlapping music from the Minecraft OST and a random horror OST. This kind of makes it feel a little more off-putting and eerie, as the message of duality the author is trying to show us, or I guess in this instance, trying to make us listen to, is to make us more uncomfortable. It's like telling us that there's not just one entity hunting him, there's actually 2. And at 9 minutes and 25 seconds in, Red puts down more science to talk to the entity. As he says, it never ends, does it? Before the entity then reveals itself in a different form. The entity takes the form of a wood environment around Red, as it says hello. Do you remember the incident? Why did you leave me there? Please help me. Why did you leave me to burn? Red says he's sorry on a sign to the strange entity, who is clearly at some point a friend or a loved one of Red. Red then approaches the entity almost like he's ready to accept his fate, as the entity quickly teleports away before Red can reach him. Red then wanders around, more in the one maze, now probably scared for his life as nothing really makes sense. Did he go in a circle because some of the doors are opened? But as we can see by the footage, just as he's finding a way out, something big happens. At 12 minutes and 30 seconds, we get a sudden flashback to him and his dog, just hanging out together. The last shot we see from episode 2 is one that Hart cuts to a place that he and his dog were living at, being burnt down. Now, the tree monster earlier in the video could represent the dog being dead, as he managed to escape the danger but left his best friend behind to burn away in the fires. What I think happening to these 2 people is that the people they knew from their past life brought them to this alternate reality so they can meet with them one last time. I know that's kind of a stretch, so let's move on. Why is Red Red? Well, I honestly thought Red was Red because he has suffered severe burning trauma, but seeing from the flashback, he was clearly just Red all along. So, yeah, get going past me. The last thing I want to bring up is the similarities between the 2 characters in each of their videos. Each have a stalker who resembles them a little bit too much, honestly. Each stalker had its own motive of what it wanted to do with the people who were brought there. Clearly the first person felt lonely, yet had a hard time reaching out to others, so that's why the entity only watched them from afar. Because the entity wanted to make them suffer as much as possible by letting them know that they were being watched without ever confronting them. It's genius. The first person seemed to act without much thought and seemed to do everything by the flow, almost not registering what was really going on. While Red was quite the opposite. Red felt bad for what he must have done in the past to his dog, so he never really meant to put him in that situation to begin with. Red was ready to accept whatever came to him. He literally ran straight into possible death multiple times because Red wanted to atone for all his sins and wanted forgiveness for what he did. The second entity clearly felt betrayed by Red I only wanted a reason as to why everything happened the way it did. By saying sorry and taking responsibility, it was enough for the entity to stop hunting him, at least for the moment, as instead of ending it all, the entity teleported out of the way before Red could inflict any more suffering upon himself. Red wanted to feel the pain of everything he did in his life, and the man without a face wanted to outrun and get away from danger and be alone. These two videos, these two types of suffering are completely different, yet they go together so well. Both suffered something traumatic in their past and dealt with it in completely different ways, the only way they knew how. Now we move on to the description, which holds some more cryptic dialogue. Where am I? I teleported here of nowhere. Better make shelter till night. This, I think I understand the third line the best. This third line could be like a false hope. So you make a base as a form of normalcy. I feel like I'm being stalked by someone. And this is the point where they notice they're being watched by someone. No. Not sunlight. This is when they realize the entity watching them is not human. Then there's a pause and something. Doesn't know what it is, but it is known as watching is probably very beyond human at this point. This tells a very grim story. People are sent to this separate reality where they are tormented by their worst fears, and the entity knows the best way to keep someone there forever. A person leaves someone behind for others to find them, and the cycle repeats. I can almost guarantee you that part 3 will either bring back one of these two characters, or the cycle will repeat over and over again, bringing in new people to experience their own ideas of what they deserve for the suffering. That's all I have for now. If anyone has anything else I missed, please bring it up in the comments below. Have a great day and remember to watch more of my content. I'm gonna be doing some SCP related content going forward. I'm kind of getting addicted to horror content in general. Hopefully it'll be out by Sunday or Monday at the latest. Well, thanks for watching.